Jeff Beagley answering questions on the witness stand, but what is his body language saying? Let's bring in an expert, body language and media training expert, TJ Walker. He's also the author of the new book, How to Give a Pretty Good Presentation. TJ's in New York this morning. All right, TJ, I wanted to start by taking a listen back to what I thought was really a big moment this morning when he was reading a letter that was written by his son, and he started to get a little emotional. Take a look.
Let's see, a lot of the times we were working when we were together, but sometimes we do fun things. We both enjoy riding on the sand dunes and camping. And I would like to be able to spend more time with him. It's fun times with my dad.
Powerful stuff there, TJ, and you really get, at least I get a sense of the father-son relationship and the sense of loss that this man had and the way he just started crying on his stand. And it wasn't just him. I mean, there was a juror crying during this part of the testimony as well. What are your thoughts, TJ?
Well, he came across well here. It showed that he loved his son. It showed that he's a human being, that he has emotion, and there was obviously some connection with jury members if others are crying too. So here and in other places, he comes across as sincere. He does not come across as contrite, phony. He doesn't seem as though he's lying. What I think he's lacking, while he cried here, later on when he's asked questions about, well, really, would you do anything differently? Do you wish you'd called a doctor? There didn't seem to be any reflection of, wow, you know, maybe I didn't do things 100% right. There was a lack of emotion at other points where I think the average jury member would have thought, that's just strange and weird.
Yeah, well, let's take a listen now to another part of the testimony, which is much different than when he's crying and reading that letter. He's recalling another time where he's talking about an iPhone and technology and completely different demeanor. Take a look.
At the time, we was working for a guy siding a house up in Vancouver for him, and he had a, well, I don't know what you call it, one of those little iPhones or something that you could do eBay on or whatever. And he was watching it for us while we was there. It went off at noon. And he came out at noon and told Neil he got the car, and he turned to me and says, "Is that good?" And I said, "I guess if you wanted it."
And there he is recalling his son and his son's love of cars, and we see a smile. We see a smile on the witness stand, TJ.
The smile's nice. On the one hand, it's endearing. On the other hand, the way he talks about the iPhone, he makes it sound like it's this strange alien being. That's a part of the challenge he has with the jury, is that by his actions, by his dress, by his hairstyle, he's saying to them, I'm not really a part of the modern world. I'm sort of a part of the 1960s. He's got this hair that's sort of slicked back and sprayed down as if it were straight from the 60s. He also said, if you notice, every man in that courtroom has a suit and tie on. Vinny, you and I have to have a suit and tie on. And he says, you know what, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to come across my style. I don't really care what everyone else thinks. That can be viewed as a strength, but it's also a huge weakness if jurors feel like this guy doesn't think about anyone other than himself.
Another part of what happened is cross-examination this morning. And during cross-examination, he appeared to be stoic somewhat on the witness stand, and at times giving very short answers, sometimes just kind of like, I don't know, and his voice is very much like this, almost monotone. How is that playing in the courtroom, and what message do you think he's sending to the jury through that cross-examination testimony?
Well, on the one hand, it's good to be short. You don't want to seem like you are pontificating. On the other hand, the yeah. I mean, this is a serious issue. This is a formal situation. Why not say yes? It would show that you respect the proceedings, and that's a part of his problem. While he seems to genuinely love his family and respect his belief, he doesn't seem to show respect for other aspects of society, whether it's the medical establishment or the judicial establishment. And that's a part of the problem with the yeah and the slumped over and looking sloppy.
Now, TJ, ultimately for any witness on a witness stand, it's all about credibility. But if you're the defendant, that's the end game here, is you've got to have credibility in front of this jury. They've got to believe you. And they've got to, I think, somewhat like you. I'm going to put you on the spot here. If we had to rate how his testimony is going from a 1 to a 10, 10 being the most credible, the type of witness who's going to be given a break by this jury, saying, you know what, I kind of like this guy. I think he comes across as genuine, as real. That being a 10, one being, I don't know, he's kind of skirting around the truth. He's not being 100% with us. We don't like this guy.
Well, I give him a 10 on honesty, but sort of a 2 on likability. There are a lot of people who look at him and say he's coming across as 100% honest and sincere, but he's honestly saying, I really don't care about the health of my child as much as I do following a particular obscure, particular religious faith, and if that means my granddaughter, my son has to die, so be it. So he comes across as believable, but he also does not come across necessarily as someone who isn't a menace to family members and society.
T.J. Walker, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, the Followers of Christ Church is centered in the Oregon City area, so the local residents are used to hearing about its members. But how did they react when Jeff Beagley testified about his son's illness? A local reporter will tell us and give us some fascinating details on the Beagley family.